while still studying. And
So you weren't mucking around. You were like,
no,
okay,
I'm serious. Like I'm
deep
taking
into this.
every opportunities to learn, to practice. It's afterwards the Hit Factory
The
studio.
Hit Factory.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, that was on the list of questions. Had to adapt to survive.
I'm totally freaking out. Because like I had producer punch me in the face like in sessions like
Oh
that.
my God,
And
I
then
didn't even hear that correctly.
There's so many, yeah.
Yeah, quick one before you fly back to
Yeah.
Hong Kong.
Yeah.
As we were saying, that's
Right.
crazy. Well, let's jump straight into it. And for those that maybe don't know about your background and how you started in the industry, I'd love for you to tell us a bit about that.
So I came from Hong Kong originally, no music background. My family not doing music at all. So, but when I grew up, I was like doing classical music, slowly getting into pop and jazz and everything. Then after I finished college in Asia, which every Asian parents want you to do that first
Okay.
before you do anything crazy. So doing music in Asian family is like, wow, what are you doing? You're not making money. You're gonna die or something. I don't know. So yeah. So and then I just like, okay, I'm gonna do the regular kids like what everybody doing. Do a business school, got a degree, and then I was like, hey, I'm gonna do music now. And I applied for Berklee College of Music. So when I first applied, I was like applying for like jazz guitars.
Okay. Was that the first instrument you learned?
No, probably the second one. I studied
Piano.
classical piano,
Okay.
and I studied classical guitar, and I got into like pop, jazz, guitar.
Right.
And I was like, oh, I really want to study and like get myself be a better guitarist basically, and try to come to the States and like just learn about the history of jazz and be a better jazz player. Maybe full-time doing it. Playing guitar.
Okay, that was the goal.
That was the goal. Yeah, that was the goal.
Okay.
I wouldn't be like a rock star or something. That's also part of the goal too, like or touring musician. It's like great. I want to look good and like play well and like fancy, fancy.
Okay.
When you're a kid, it's like your boy and your teenagers, you want to be like a rock star, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like great. So successfully, they accepted me, give me a little bit of scholarship. So I go abroad, like to Berklee College of Music. When I first landed,
Where's the college based?
Boston.
Oh, Boston.
Yeah,
Okay,
Boston.
cool.
So when I got there, I'm like, wow, it's not what I think. Everybody was killing it already. They were rock stars
Right.
in school.
That must have felt quite crazy though, doing that jump from
cultural
moving to a
shock.
foreign country.
First, you got to adapt to the living situation, try to understand how everything works in America, the language and everything.
Yeah, of
and
course.
then like also you got to study music. You got to catch up with all your homeworks and everything. And then everybody around you is so good. And I was like, wow, I was so depressed because of that.
Right.
It's like, wow, everybody can play like with their 10 fingers. I can only play with my 4 fingers. Like, what should I do now? So I was really depressed and I'm like, oh shit, what should I do now? So then I figured like, okay, let me try something new that everybody like started at the same starting point. And then that's where like the major is called music production and engineering.
Okay.
And not a lot of kids got a lot of hand-on experience in the studio. So it kind of started in the same like playing field. So
Right.
like,
So you didn't feel so overwhelmed.
yeah, I didn't feel so overwhelmed. At least something that is new for me. And also I feel like it's like a solid skills I can take away from school.
Yes.
So like applied the program, got into it. And then, yeah, we just
How old are you at this point?
I was like 22, 23.
Okay.
I started late, so.
And you had that like external pressure from the family to be like,
Yeah, but also when you're growing up, like you're like, okay, now I'm older than everybody else. Everybody's 18. They can afford to make mistakes and restart again. I'm like 23. I got it right. And I'm like spending money coming abroad. Like
So you were older than everyone else
Yeah.
at that point. Okay.
This is
so
my
the pressure
second degree.
was
the
on,
pressure
right?
was on.
Okay.
And I don't want to spend a lot of money wasting my time. And when I graduate, I got no job and nothing. It's like, okay, I don't want to waste my family money. And also, so I got there and then studied very hard. And it was great. Like, it was like very solid skill. And I picked up really quickly. I didn't even know how to use GarageBand when I first started.
Really?
It was so that bad. It was like great.
That was one of the questions I was going to ask you. Like, what was the first DAW?
Pro Tools. That's
Pro
it.
Tools.
Not GarageBand a little because everybody needs to learn GarageBand in
So
school.
straight into the deep end.
Yeah, and then straight from that, I go straight to Pro Tools.
Okay.
And then, learn all the SSL console that you have in school and all the gears, analog gears. And the education was great.
That's quite interesting because
Yeah.
a lot of the other people that I've interviewed and stuff, like they'll always have like started at home recording or something like that and have some sort of like background in it. But you've gone the opposite route and been like classically trained.
Yeah.
And then gone, actually, this isn't for me. Yeah. And jumped straight into the deep end in like, so like I take it like this, the college had like a high-end studio and stuff like that.
Yeah, they got a lot of studios. They got SSL, API, Neve, and everything, which is great. So you're very familiar with it when you graduated from college.
Yeah,
so you can go into any studio, you know how to use the gears and everything. And there's a lot of musicians in school, so we got a lot of training working with like jazz, pop, rock.
Would you say it was like beneficial for you?
For sure. Like the experience in working with different multicultural like artists is very cool. Yeah. And then I work like freelance in like local studios in Boston doing live sound for churches and.
Is this whilst you're still studying?
Yeah, whilst still studying. And
so you weren't mucking around. You were like, okay,
I'm serious. Like I'm taking every opportunities to learn, to practice.
Right.
Yeah. So shout out to all the professors that taught me before. And it's very knowledgeable. So
100%. I mean, we all have people like that in our lives, don't we? So. They need their props.
Correct.
What was the next stage from there? Like, obviously, when you've graduated, like you spoke a lot about pressure and stuff like that. Right. So you're like, I really need to make this. I was like
work familiar with like the Boston scene area. It's like cool, but then I was like, I need to go to a bigger city, right? That's where like LA, Nashville, Atlanta, and New York come into like consideration.
Yeah.
But then I kind of freaked out too because like, I don't have anyone I know in LA or like Nashville or Atlanta, but I got some lead in like New York. So my professor, Prince Charles Alexander, called me and said, hey, I got a gig in New York. You want to come down and assist me for a month or something and see how everything works out? So I just like moved right away.
What studio was that?
It was the studio I worked at afterwards, the Hit Factory studio.
The Hit Factory. Yeah. Oh, okay, that was on the list of questions.
Yeah. So he worked out there for a month and I was assisting him as an assistant mix engineer. And I got to know Troy Germano, the owner, and then all the engineers there. So we got to hang, like we became friends.
That was a big moment. That was a big moment. Then that's a turning point in your career, getting into that spot.
Not yet.
No,
not yet. So I got an interview. They like me, but they don't have any position opening at that point. So I was like freelancing in the country, trying to figure out. Okay, I spent like 3-4 months just jumping between studios, working whenever there's opening. Right. So I was at like Quad Studios, the Jungle City, and then finally like. In a Christmas in 2014, the Hit Factory, they need an assistant because everybody's on vacation, the session coming in. I remember it was with like Mike Posner or something and produced by like Steve Jordan. So like, okay, cool, yeah, I'm coming in.
Yeah, you jumping on it.
Yeah, I was like, sure, like no experience at all. Assist a session right away for like over the Christmas, and that's where I started. And then they were like, we like you, you did well, and then you're staying and...
That's amazing. Can I backtrack a little bit?
Sure.
Because I think for the people watching, they'll find it very interesting to hear. Like, what was it like in the process of like when you didn't have any security, you didn't have like a designated like assistant role, as you said, you were sort of freelancing, hopping from studio to studio. Like, what was like the mindset and the process that you sort of like had to adapt to survive?
Oh, I'm totally freaking out.
Yeah, but
also like it gave me a time and space of like, okay, I need to figure out something for myself.
Right.
So during that period, like 3-4 months, I was like mostly home because don't have money to spend, trying to find the next gig, waiting for the next call. So I just home, like reading all the books and practicing my skills, just practicing mixing at home. Right. Just constantly practicing and.
So you got yourself a little setup and stuff.
Yeah, just keep practicing.
Yeah.
And then like try to get my skill set better, and calling all the local artists and like friends back home, say, you need someone to help you make something, I will do it for free, like just to practice, like get my chops up.
Yeah, 100%.
So when I go in the studio, I'm a little bit better than when I was in school.
Yes, 100%. So, well, you're learning in like a real life scenario with like actual clients.
So I try to prepare myself as much as possible before I get into a real studio with like bigger clients. I'm more prepared.
Was you having to sort of like do any jobs on the side or anything like that?
No, I didn't. I was just like mixing.
You were just
I always start grinding, mixing on the side.
I love that. That's amazing.
Because that's where I want to focus. That's where I spend my energy on. I don't want to work on any side jobs besides that. And that's why my passion is. So.
Yeah, because it just distracts from the goal and the drive.
Because I saw a lot of people like, they okay, financially they need some support, so they find the side gigs, and then they only can allocate like 40% of their time to doing what they really like, and then 60% doing some other unrelated job, something. But then their career progress like slower, and end up they might be doing something else and not in the industry. So it happens a lot. So
you started mixing quite early on then for like independent artists and stuff like that, and at a professional level in the studio at the Hit Factory, was it more tracking, assistant role? Like what did the job?
You start at the bottom basically, like everybody do, like the classic route. Start at the bottom, you're interning, doing front desk job, a lot of admin work, and then cleaning, and of course, and serving the artists and everything. That's like I did that about like a year or two. Okay. And then finally get in a room and become an assistant engineer.
Who was you assisting for mostly?
That's a good question. Like, I'm assisting like the staff engineer or house engineers, but also outside engineers too. It was like any artist that come through, you just like. So there's only 2 rooms, so.
Setting up the sessions. Tracking when they're not around.
Yep, tracking. Stuff like that. It's pretty standard stuff. Amazing. And writing all the notes and recalls, writing notes.
Of course, and also, physically writing notes. People watching this probably won't have a clue what that is.
Yeah, I'm writing notes on like every okay, how they record vocals, what mic they use on this particular artist, and what compressor was preamp or EQ. Yeah. So you kind of take notes of every artist come through, and how their vocals being recorded, how they're set up. So you leave a mental note, I write notes. So whenever it comes in, I know the chain and like, okay, if I need to engineer, I'm ready. Like, I know what you want. Yeah.
And at this point in your career, you had decided this was the path that I'm looking to go down.
For sure.
Yeah. And if you sort of decided, because obviously there's a few different roles within that industry. As we all know, there's many different roles in a studio, like mastering engineer, mix engineer, tracking engineer. Like people can spend their whole lives dedicated to one. You seem to sort of work across all of them at one point.
But I always, like, my focus was always mixing. That's what I want to do for life. That's always, I know that, like, when I was in school.
Right, okay.
Yeah, but like when you
Is there any particular reason why?
Because it's more chill, you know? Yeah. I'm a very lazy guy, so.
You don't have to be there at 4 in the morning dealing with a client.
But like, but at least I got more. Yeah, it's kind of like smart and lazy at the same time. I figure like, okay, mixing engineer probably pay the best out of every engineer. Yeah. And then you got the most creative control input also. And then also you got more control over your time. Yeah. And you got credit.
Yeah.
That's important.
It does seem like across the industry, like the goal that everyone wants to hit, everyone wants to be a mixing engineer.
Yeah. But like mixing engineer or mastering engineer, usually there's one guy for the song. So people will remember you and they will put your credit down. Yeah. But tracking engineer, maybe there's like 10 different tracking engineer all around the world recording one song.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Credit got lost. Yeah. And people don't remember you the next day. So because they're partying so hard too. So
yeah, that's it.
So that's why I like figure like, okay, the best position to be in is to become a mixing engineer. Producer is cool, but it's a hit or miss. Yeah. Yeah, like you can be.
But obviously, as someone that's classically trained, do you ever find yourself like wanting to like act as a producer on a record, or do you sort of take a step back and leave that? Because obviously you're going to have you have a background in music, you have an understanding of how the music works and the composition of the song. Right. Like, do you ever find yourself wanting to sort of step into that role?
It helps, but I try not to overstep anybody. Okay. Because there's always producer, songwriter. But if they ask me for my feedback, so like I need to help, like we're stuck here, then I will come in and help them musically. Like, the chord is wrong. That's why.
Yeah. That's what I was gonna say. Yeah. Because there's always that sort of like awkward like situation sometimes with clients, and you're like, that is wrong, and I don't know if I'm in a position or not to tell them that the producer's got it wrong. Like, the 808 a lot of the time on these bigger records might not be tuned properly, or the kick, stuff like that.
Most of the time you can't say anything.
Yeah. Would you just do it though?
I like either I do it very secretly, like just like muting some stuff, like okay, that will work, but like I won't tell anybody, and then they won't notice because it sounds better.
Yeah, of course.
Or if like the relationship is good, I would like tell them, hey, I think this might be better because the chord is a little bit funky, like in between these two keyboards. Right. Let me try something so you like it.
That's
and they don't go back. So
that's a good question. Like,
it's more like you approach them with a suggestion.
Yeah.
Then like, hey, this is wrong, man. I'm gonna take over like the whole session. Like, no. But like, try to be a collaborative effort. Like,
yeah, that was what I was going to ask you. Like, what is your sort of approach to working with clients? You like to be quite like hands-on with them, or is it like send the stems and you just sort of like to get in your own lane and mix the record to the vision that you see, or do you like having their input?
I usually prefer within my own lane.
Okay.
Yeah, I would take their input before and after. But when I'm working, I just want to be like, leave me alone. I want to be in my own space.
Sort of like discovering the record for yourself and not having any like external input into how you want it to be.
I don't want
mixed.
distraction. Like, I don't just want to be immersed with the record just to communicate with the music. Me and the music, that's it. No distraction, no noise. And then let me take a shot at this and give you a version of what I think this could be. And then you can come in with your input.
Yeah. You've come for my ears, so let me sort of like give you what I think is the best result.
Yeah. Oh, of course, you have communication beforehand, like how far you want to take this.
Yeah.
How you want it to sound.
Yeah. And if it's like meant to be an acoustic record, you're not going to slap a load of auto-tune on there and make it sound like Travis Scott or something.
you got to respect the style they try to live in, right? So like if they're a singer, songwriter,
so
you want to make acoustic, organic, nothing over processed, just like respect the recording, that kind of stuff. But then if you're doing hip hop, you're like slamming everything hard, distortion. It's like, get auto-tune. There's no rules for that, so yeah.
You've worked in quite a lot of genres from what I've seen. I checked out your Muso account, and you know, it's quite incredible the vastness of the genres that you've worked in. Actually, what would you say that there's like a particular style or genre that sort of sits best with you that you like to work in, or you know, what a favorite?
I think pop for sure. Yeah, pop. Pop is the style I'm more familiar with, and I really like.
Yeah.
But like I also work in other style, but like it's funny enough, like everybody like, oh, I want a very indie rock sound, blah, 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 blah. At the end of the day, they want a little bit flavor of pop. Yeah. Because you want audience to listen to it. There's like certain standard of how the record should sound.
It's got to translate,
Yeah, you got to translate. That's like the minimum. Like you can do like weird stuff, but no one's going to listen. That's only for you. And you're not going to be successful, and you're not going to be doing music in 2 years.
No, yeah.
But if I'm doing like
being
the
unique.
mainstream stuff, even for like alternative indie, but at least I stay in the mainstream lane, it guarantees I got the next gig.
Okay,
so there's like certain standard of like criteria I want to fulfill.
And you know, if we're taking sort of like the artistic side out of it, you know, it's good for the career as well, because those records tend to be the records.
Correct. People listen to
that do
on the radio.
Most. Yeah,
and then like someone else gonna, hey, I really like the record that was on the radio. Yeah, can I get you on that one? It's like, sure.
Yeah, and as we'd all love to be able just to do the music for the love of it, but we are running a business.
Yeah, correct.
You know, and it needs to be sustainable.
It's strategic. It's like very strategic planning, like how my career gonna be.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to be like so indie that no one knows. Just in my basement.
But you love it.
But no one cares. But no one cares. And doing weird like miking and like, okay, everything distorted. I really like it, but no one likes it. Yeah. I don't know. But I want to have like a very like an audience ear. So that's just so I like, that's how I like this piece of music. Sorry, let me rephrase that a little bit. I want to mix the music so that I would love to keep repeating it on Spotify or on radio.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's it. I mean, listening to your mixes as well, they definitely translate, and I can hear sort of like, even on some records that maybe aren't necessarily like the most pop sort of direction, the balance is leaning into that. So,
and I would hope like the mixes of the song playing different system would be consistent.
Yeah, of
and
course.
It's like, okay, the vocals clean and clear, the drums are hitting hard, or at least there's some transient coming through, the dynamics there. But like for me, like also like working in the international like pop music world, each country has their own like style and preference. Yeah. Like Indonesia has their own preference how the pop music wants to sound, and you have to respect it. coming from like a vast, like long history of like the pop music.
Yeah, that's actually a very interesting. I've never actually thought about that. Actually, that's quite interesting. So, how do you sort of like navigate yourself around those challenges? Because you don't just work on one part of.
No, it's like everywhere in the world.
You're covering like all different areas of the planet. So, like, what's your approach when mixing records for people that are, because you've worked with a lot of state-based artists and like people in Asia and all over the country. So
like the whole world is the whole world is definitely like looking up to like American artists, because like they're huge, right? Number wise and everything. Their promotion is crazy. So everybody definitely referencing them, listening to them, but they also add their own flavor to it. It's like if there's like a rapper from Japan want to reference Drake. Yeah. But you don't want to sound exactly like Drake because of the language. And also, you're competing with other Japanese artists on Japanese radio. You will like tweak it a little bit so it sounds slightly different from Drake, but similar in that space. Yeah. But more unique to that market. You're custom made to that particular market.
Of course, yeah. So referencing the genres and the other artists that are in that lane, but then trying to like pinpoint it in a unique
in the region.
Yeah, of course.
Because you have to. I will go and listen to the radio and just to understand what their pop music sounds like currently. And like, this is like Japanese pop right now, and this is like Drake. Yeah, we have to find some middle ground to like compromise.
Yeah, I mean, because we have those sort of same textures and differences with like UK hip hop and American hip hop. Yeah. Like we're always a little bit faster, it seems like, on tempo. Right. It's a lot more aggressive in terms of like how upfront we put the vocals. Correct. Things like that. So that, but from an avid listener, they feel like the same genre, but there is all these subtle differences.
I think vocal level is a great example. Like in American music, vocal level are usually quieter.
Yeah, it's tucked in. It's like music, it's near the snare.
Because the language, like you can still hear very clearly when you're like singing very quietly in English. But if you're in other language like Chinese or whatever, it's hard to understand what they're saying, the lyrics. Yeah. So the vocal usually maybe a dB or two louder than they should be. Okay, right. So stuff like that, like minor differences, but it's tailor-made for that particular market. Yeah, yeah. But also you gotta pass the labels, the A&Rs. Yeah. Not just the artists.
And some of those guys might be like stuck in a certain vision and a
way.
Correct.
And so you gotta understand, like, it's like a little politics. How will you know the artist? How will you know the producer? How will you know the A&R? How will you know the VP or the head of the label? Yeah. Then you're like kind of, make a balance between all those people's preferences, and then you make something.
Yeah, yeah. How did you learn that stuff like, it's got to be 2 dB louder? The first time it came, did you get those notes back and go like, I keep getting these same notes? Or
more experience. Yeah. More experience. Like you do 100 songs in that region. Everybody asking for the same thing. I am doing something wrong.
To understand.
Understand what they're looking for. And just working with a producer in that region, you're like, usually vocals are drier, louder.
I found a similar thing when I was working with this like underground UK hip hop group, and I listened to a lot of American music, and especially at that time I was like obsessed with like the Kendrick Lamar, Kid Mad City, all this stuff. So I'm mixing in that same sort of like area, and they're like, bro, the kicks are nowhere near loud enough, and I'm like, bro, the kicks are like ringing my ear off. Like, how do you want this turned up? And they're like, no, you need to turn it up. And I'm like, it makes me feel uncomfortable how loud these kicks are. And then I move on to another genre like amapiano, and now I'm mixing my kicks super loud, and they're like, bro, you're gonna blow my head off. These kicks are way too loud. You need to turn them down. Correct.
It's tough. Like sometimes, like that's why like you have engineer only works in particular genre. Yeah, because they don't adapt to that genre.
That was my original point to you. Is like you were able to make those adjustments and move across multiple genres.
I think like I am particularly good at listening to music and understand what they are doing. Yeah. Like on particular song.
The elements that are important.
Yeah, the elements and what makes it stand out at this genre. Like let's say Afrobeat. What's special about Afrobeat music? How they sound.
Yeah, it's like heavily compressed vocals, very upfront and quite aggressive.
And the drums, how they were processed and everything are just like really good at reverse engineering them. So
Yeah.
And
Well,
then
that comes with experience and understanding the tools, right?
but also I spend hours just to listen to music,
Yeah.
just so I can understand how the drums and vocal relationship and how everything else working with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Back to your background
Yeah.
a little bit in obviously being classically trained.
Yeah.
I can tell you are absolutely obsessed with the mixing process.
Yeah.
But have you ever sort of like thought, okay, maybe I want to get back into maybe some level of production, knowing that obviously you have the ability and you have the talent to be able to play
Right.
these instruments? Have you ever thought about, oh, maybe I'll start getting into production?
I think that's gonna be tough, cause like I'm so far away from production right now. The tools and like people like sampling and all this AI and everything.
You think
It's just a different
progressed so
level.
much
Progressed so much further. I probably started maybe 8 years ago,
Right.
and the
okay.
tools right now are completely different.
Yeah.
So it requires a different skill set in a way. It's like I'm not very familiar with. It's not just like let's play a hardware synthesizer and put a keyboard part and we're producing.
Yeah, add some
Now,
drums. and we're
people
off.
going able and chopping things up like crazy,
Yeah.
reversing shit,
Resampling.
like, process. Yeah, it's like wow, using AI too. It's like whoa, it's like a different world for me.
Maybe you can be the one making the samples though, and then sending them to them.
Yeah, or I can be like a co-producer. I sometimes do that. Like there's a main producer,
or like an exec.
yeah, like
executive, like
something like that.
overseeing the whole
Oversee.
thing.
Like I don't make all the tracks, but at least I know what's wrong
Yeah.
in between the tracks and clean things up and help.
Because you have the most important skill set, and that's the ear.
Yeah.
So
Because
you
I
have an
know, like, okay,
understanding.
I hear your demo, I hear how it was the final product. But there's something in the middle we need to clean things up for the production first before we can get there.
Yeah.
And even before mixing. Or sometimes mixing can fix a lot of stuff.
yeah,
If
but
it's like overproducing.
that's
you
what I
know,
was going to
there's
say.
stuff
You know,
like that, yeah.
Being able to make those decisions, like you get sent a record and they've got way too much going on in the mid range,
Yeah.
just too many
Too much,
instruments
yeah.
playing. Like being able to sort of sit there and say, actually, do you know what? Maybe we should remove some of this stuff.
Correct.
You know,
Or
that's,
they put 10 kick drums and 10 of them are out of phase.
yeah, but that's because they don't
Really?
know how to mix.
Correct. Or like the producer doesn't have a good speaker system.
Yeah.
They produce from home or whatever. They're just not really experienced.
Yeah, you don't need to put 10 kicks.
You just
on
need
your
one good
mixes.
kick and that's
You just
it.
need
Yeah.
one good kick.
Just keep it simple. Like,
Yeah.
the more you put, it's more phase you get, more problem you get, timing and everything. So, and that's why like whenever I got the tracks, I really like go dig in and see what happened. Then I would like call the label or the manager or whatever, say, hey, can I like say something like, oh, I think this will help because like technically just something's wrong. We
Yeah.
can correct it. So if they're cool, then I would like do something,
Yeah.
some surgery, just like fixing.
I think that's an important skill set, especially carrying yourself throughout your career as an engineer, being able to say, like, not just hiding behind the
Right.
record and saying, like, oh, this really isn't good enough, and then delivering the mix and then letting them down because you know that what they delivered to you wasn't, it was subpar.
Yeah, correct.
Yeah, so having the confidence to be able to say, listen, guys, I think we should do this, this, and this, my personal opinion.
Right.
Then, you know, you're gonna that's a skill set that's obviously gonna carry you.
But also like sometimes like, or if the record sent to me, the demo, the rough mix sounds like that, I try to respect that first. And then a client comes to me and say, hey, can you make this sound like more orchestral?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, then don't put a tremolo in the strings. Then,
Right. Yeah.
then I was like, I know what to do, but like, if you allow me to do that, then I will do that. I will sing a different version that
Yeah.
sounds a lot more orchestral, and then see if you like it.
In your studio, you
Yeah.
work out at several studios, from what I understand, a few different spaces. Do you have do you still have that software and those instruments to hand to be able to make adjustments like that if you need to actually like play something in to the mix?
Yeah, in the studio there's like keyboards and guitars
Yeah,
and stuff
yeah.
like that, but not like a lot of soft synthesizers.
Right.
Because in studio computer you don't usually install too much stuff.
No.
Yeah, but like usually like lucky enough for us, we don't have to add stuff. Most of the time it's take out some stuff.
Yeah, or you can say or try maybe changing the string
Or
pattern.
just like copy
something
and paste,
this.
editing stuff. Yeah, or the timing is not right, you fix the
Right.
timing.
So
mostly
let's
that.
So, Josh, can I start? Because I remember I saw in your credits you did, it was like an XXX Tentacion track. I was really curious because
Wait,
there's a lot
this
of
one?
like.
No, I didn't do that one.
Oh, you didn't? Oh, I saw Muso under your name.
Muso can be a bit
Yeah.
dodgy.
Put it on you.
Yeah, I don't think.
Because
I
the
don't know.
question-
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah, so it's because like put this question to Mixed by Ali as
Yeah.
well, was because you started talking about fixing You know what I mean? And like the stuff in there which is like wrong.
Right.
Increasingly in like hip hop, you get stuff which is like super blown out, super in the red on purpose. How do you sort of navigate that? You just come from like some huge J-pop record. Right. You get this like drill beat that's like
everything.
It's meant to be distorted.
Yeah, it's
everything clipping.
Yeah, how do you what?
I think like in hip hop world, because a lot of people produce in like FL Studio, and that's why with the limiter on, or the built-in like the clipper in the FL Studio that create the sound. So, but when you're mixing, like, you got to stamp like maybe as hard, but like then you lower it to start mixing because you're saving some headroom. Yeah. But you cannot really push in Pro Tools to get the same sound. It's not the same algorithm.
It's a weird thing because it's like you understand why the producers are doing those things. Right. But we're in this like odd period where it's like they're doing it in the wrong way that's kind of making our job harder. Correct. When if they just sended it without all the clipping, we could achieve that sound.
Yeah, but the artist is so used to the demo. Oh, yeah. And it sounds great. It's wrong, but it sounds great. It's correct in a way. Yeah. Technically, it's wrong, but it sounds correct for the genre. Yeah. So for us, we have to recreate that.
Because obviously you're not mixing in FL.
But like I respect it. Like sometimes all the tracks like in red, it's fine. I can lower it and then start from there.
If you needed to recreate that clipping sound that FL is famous for, what would be your process?
Just adding some parallel clipping. Okay. I use like Oxford inflator. Okay. And then I use a couple of limiter just to recreate like the drum.
And you're running it in parallel,
sound.
So you're not sort of like destroying the organic signal. Yeah,
correct. I think we spent like a year or two at the studio because everybody's like so fond of the sound. Yeah. And me and all the engineers like, okay, let's try to create something similar. So we can like have that similar sound in Pro Tools or something when we're mixing.
So we need to package it up and sell it as a plugin.
No. Secret weapon. Okay, fair enough. But we got like a 3 plug-in chain that like we all tested it. It's like, okay, that works as a parallel.
We're getting there. I found, have you used Decap's clipper? Yeah. He has a plugin called Knock. And there's a clipper on that. And I find that's in the same realm as that. That's what he was trying to
create. Because I remember I used like a transient designer going to a clipper, and then you just get like maybe a little bit more distortion or something like that. Then you get that little
but it's the punch and
it's the punch
that is what it's famous for.
But if you clip it on the track itself, then you cannot like add more low end to it and stuff like because everything's distorted. So you don't keep your low end intact and everything. No, so I do it on a parallel chain. So I do it on a parallel chain just to keep the low end and everything intact, so I can modify it however I want it. But I want the clipping transient to be like presence there. So it simulate what the rough mix gonna be.
Okay, that's really interesting. Actually, I've been using a bit of the gold clip. Yeah, recently. Gold clip. Yeah, that's really good. That's a really good clip. I haven't been using it in parallel though, so I might have to try that.
You tried it, yeah.
Try that technique out, yeah.
But you did find some plugin that's not really like delay, like compensated. Yeah, because it gets fuzzy. So you need a handpick. It
has to be on point. Yeah, you find the Oxford.
Oxford works really well, and there's some Mac DSP stuff. Nice. You can distort it, and then it works.
So, right, yeah. That's cool. That's cool. Well, you got some.
Because I saw some engineer do that, and I was like, oh, that works. Like I remember Mac DSP works, ML4000. That's like a hidden gem for like drums and kick drums and stuff like that.
But it does seem like it has been like the sort of like unsung battle of the engineers over the last few years is trying to like recreate that sound. Because that's always the note from the producers if it's made in FL. It's like, bro, it's not hitting the same. Right. The drums aren't hitting the same. Sometimes I'm just like, okay, just send me the wet drums clipped and I'm just going to mix in with that. Do you know what I mean? And then we're happy.
Because I work with all the big producers too, so I'm like in the room seeing them how to produce in like FL Studio. Sometimes I ask them like, how do you process your drums? Like, we don't.
Yeah.
At the end, there's no plug in it, just them having the fade as a 0. Yeah. And then they keep
because the clipper's on the master, right?
I don't think there's a clipper, it's just built in.
Right,
It's like you go to Pro Tools, you push your master fader all the way up, that's the sound.
Oh, it's actually built into the software. Okay.
It's just digital distortion. Or I don't know, whatever it is. And so Logic has a sound, Pro Tools has a sound. You know, how if you push it so hard, it's a sound.
Yes, okay, right. That makes sense. And then that's the goal that everyone's trying to
and then you
emulate.
work with all the hip hop engineers, like, okay, this guy got a secret weapon. I'm gonna steal that.
Oh, sorry.
Or like I'm gonna learn from them, not steal them, but like learn from them. improve upon them. So I took all the tricks and tips from all the engineers.
Yeah. Would you say, obviously that's like one particular scenario with production at the moment that does come up. Would you say there's any other sort of like instances, like maybe people that are producing using Ableton or anything like that, like issues you might have when people are using those DAWs, when then you're trying to recreate that in the mix, but in like the correct way to get the best sound?
I don't have any issues so far with the DAW, but just like people like, okay, let's say producer, they got the rough mix or producer mix that the artists love, but they don't print everything.
Right.
So when I get a record, the multi-track sounds completely different.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they do like they put a reverb on the whole mix. It's like, whoa, I have no idea. But like you try to listen, it's like, what are they doing? Like, and some weird stuff like they put on, like because producer use like different plugins than what we use for creative purpose, or like such something like everybody hyped on, like, oh, let's use this plugin. Oh, that's one thing. Like when you're doing K-pop, everybody's using OTT plugin.
Right.
That's like a free plugin, but like you clip like crazy, distort like crazy, but you get a really like pop, like brightness to it. It's a bite. But
Is
like,
it a compressor or?
I don't know what that is.
It's
like one box with like 3 knobs or something.
Oh, okay. Like
it's
a multi-band compressor.
Yeah, but I have no idea what it does. It didn't say much. It's like 3 or 4 knobs.
Yes, yeah, like a plugin that's made for sort of artists.
But like
so
all the K-pop producer slam it on the track. So you got like, sometimes I got a rough mix plus 1 dB and on RMS.
Yeah, that's
and I'm like, whoa. And then like what were they doing? So I was talking to all these K-pop producers, like, oh, that's the plugin you're using.
Right.
And some other free plugins that they use, like not from like major plugin company. So we wouldn't know. Until you talk to them, it's like, how do you make that sound like?
When you're sending the mixes, because obviously you're getting these roughs, they're so loud, right? You can't send them a mix unmastered, really. Otherwise, they're going to be like, they're just not going to connect to it.
But sometimes even you try to master it.
Right.
I'm like hitting -3 or -4, like dB. Full scale, like dBFS or something.
Yeah.
But the master's still louder. But it's distorting for sure.
Yeah.
They don't have low end, nothing. It's just distorting. And I cannot mix to that because technically it's wrong.
And they're saying, oh, it doesn't sound as good
it's loud,
because to their ear, you know, louder is better.
Yeah, louder is better, but there's no low end in that mix. And I put more low end, I can't make that loud. So it's a trade-off. And sometimes you lose the battle. You have to like, oh, I know how to mix that, but like, it's on you. If people didn't like it, it's on you. I say it. I was like, don't put my credit on it.
Right, okay.
Then I would just like cut all the low end.
Do you never say to maybe like do a comparison of like the two where, okay, let's play your rough against this finely polished and just hear the dynamics and the space and the width that comes out of it if you allow me to do my job the way that I want it?
I would send them like the rough mix but lowered to like a normal level. And hear how much distortion you have. But sometimes people still choose to like, no, I want that loud.
Right.
Then you're in a battle that you're not going to win.
No.
If the label's like that, the manager likes that, the A&R likes that, it's like, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
It happens a lot in like K-pop world because like producer want to get placement. So the louder your demo is, the more likely it jumps out of
people
like 100 songs. And then you're going to get placed. You can sell a track. But they don't care afterwards because they sell the track there. Bye-bye. I take the money. Whatever you do, I don't care. And they won't tell you. And their stamps is completely different.
Right.
So you're up to me to like kind of like piece everything together, figure out what they're doing, and try to make it as close as possible to the demo, but without all the technically like issues.
Right. What sort of, is there like a unique software that they're using to create K-pop, like producers and stuff like that? Are they using like FL or?
I think mostly Ableton. Logic Ableton.
Okay, that's a good.
FL is like for hip hop mostly.
Right,
Hip hop, everybody's like FL.
Okay.
Yeah, Alina, so there's a K-pop songwriter that we know. And it's all live, Ableton Live.
Really?
Yeah, all Ableton Live.
Okay.
But then they use like completely different set of tools that we use. But sometimes they put it on the masters. But they don't print all the stamp through the masters.
So then you don't get that.
You don't get a sound. Like, you don't get a sound to start with. And you have no idea.
Just figure it out with the reference.
Just by ear, it's like, what's going on here? What
you have to reverse
are they really
engineer
doing? Because I couldn't get the same sound.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like frustrating.
So tell me, obviously we've spoken a lot about your the process and how you like to work and stuff like that. Like, is there any standout sort of records that you worked on where you were like, oh yeah, that was a moment in my career that, you know, really has like solidified me as an engineer?
I mean, if you ask me, I still think I haven't get there yet.
Really?
I mean, I get hit like in different countries and stuff like that. But so like to me, it's like I need to get Billboard #1. Then like, okay, that's a breakthrough moment, but not there yet.
I mean, yeah, that's your sort of personal drive, though.
Yeah,
You know, but
because I've been there, I see like where the top is. Then everything less than that's like, yeah, sure, cool.
But there's a lot of people watching that
Yeah.
are like, they would look at your career and be like, oh my God, like there's some crazy, crazy records there, especially in like the K-pop scene
Right.
and stuff like that. And the fact that you aren't just one, you're not just based in one part of the world. You've managed to work
Yeah.
across multiple industries on both, you know, in Asia and the West. Do you
Yeah.
know what I mean? So one record that you think, I know I've got one that I saw on your credits that I
Really?
was like, I
Okay.
like that.
What's that? I don't know.
It was the Big Sean
Oh.
record that you did, I think 2017.
Yeah, that's a
I decided the
yeah, that's
project
a
was
great
called, yeah.
album. Yeah,
I mean, I'm a
Worked
big
on it
hip
for
hop
like
head.
a month or two. Yeah.
Yeah. So that can you tell me a little bit about the what your role was in there? Because from what we were saying off camera,
Yeah.
you were acting more
I
as
think
an
it's like
assistant.
assistant engineer, an engineer. Yeah,
So was you in the room
I was in the room with him. Yeah, I was the
tracking?
main guy. Yeah, helping with the tracking engineer, setting up everything.
Okay.
But
And
like
you
not
said
on this album, but I also tracked Big Sean, but not other project.
okay, and
I
that
don't
would have
think it
been
ever came
quite
out.
early on in your career, right?
Yeah, quite early on.
What was that experience like?
Like Big Sean is super chill, so
Yeah.
that it's like it doesn't count. Like he's like so gentleman-like
Right.
and a very intelligent person. So he's like one of the easiest and nicest guy to work with. He would spend
Okay.
like hours like writing his lyrics, getting everything perfect, and then he would jump on the mic and record.
So you'd say he lives up to the man that
Oh,
he
yeah.
portrays
Correct.
in his rap.
Yeah, correct.
Because I would assume, I would hope to assume that he was like that from listening to his music.
Yeah.
So
But like you can have a normal conversation with him, and then what's going on in his mind and everything. And you understand why he's writing this and stuff like that.
he cares about
Yeah,
the art
yeah,
of it.
he gives you time to work, like set up everything, the gears right, not just jumping to my. I need to record now.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it's a very different experience. Like it doesn't happen often. Yeah, so it's like one of the really great like
Well, that's
artists.
good then.
Yeah, that's good. Like make our life super easy.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like one of those sessions like you enjoy a lot, you know.
I find that's how you get the best music as
Yeah.
well. Like when you're in a session and it's like, this is just a nightmare to deal with.
But also like not only just recording our
Sorry to
hits.
interrupt, just watch your
Oh,
foot
sorry.
on the table
Sorry.
because it's all metal.
Okay.
Pick up the mic. Thank
Okay.
you.
So also not just recording his vocal, because like you're producing writing. So a lot of recording process in the States is like part of the writing production process. So you bring in writers and producer comes in, lay down keyboard parts, some programming. So it's like it's like a camp in a way. So
Yeah.
everybody building on the track.
Yeah, that's cool. And it's like everyone has got their role and everyone's
Yeah,
combining
correct.
their efforts.
Constantly changing the
Yeah.
track and constantly adding parts to the track. So yeah, it's pretty cool. And then you check the mix after a song is made. You get a mix back. You got a couple of mixers on it, and you listen to it, and you're like, oh wow, every famous mixer got the take and the taste on it. It's like oh,
Yeah.
and then you understand why the artist picked that particular mix over others.
I see.
They're all
yeah, yeah.
amazingly well done, and
Would obviously Big Sean, you said pleasure to work with.
yeah.
If if you want to, I'd love to hear maybe if you had a horror story of like where just everything just
Horror
went wrong,
story?
and you were like, oh my God, this is terrible.
Horror story, like I can't bring names though.
You don't have to
It's
say a
hard,
name, but you
yeah.
could tell a story maybe of a
Tell a
situation
story.
that happened.
It's a situation. It's like in studios, like you're gonna have people like from the gang or something,
Right, yeah.
from the street or something. It's like insane. Like they're famous, but they're from
Yeah.
whatever part of the world. Like the real gangster.
Yeah, yeah.
They'll come in, they go on Twitter and tell everybody we're in the studio and we're gonna record and party. And then everybody show up in the studio from the street, and there's lines of like clubs.
And you're the engineer.
And we're the engineer. This is crazy.
Oh my God.
And then you got security bringing everybody in. They're doing the opposite of exactly what they should be doing. And then we're like, what the hell is going on?
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, it's a part of the culture, but it's like at the same time, I don't know what I should do.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's confusing sometimes. Like, but it makes you a tougher person to like survive those situations.
Yeah,
and
for
like,
sure.
okay,
You got to learn real quick.
You got to draw a line at some point. So
yeah.
that's why I'm not hesitant to draw a line.
Yeah. Has there ever been a situation where you've been like, this is actually too much?
Oh, so many situations. I literally draw a line, kick people out. Like,
Right, okay.
We're cool with that. Like, because like I had producer punch me in the face, like in sessions like that.
Oh my God,
And
I
then
didn't even hear that correctly.
Yeah, there's so many, yeah. There's so many.
So
Like,
well, actually, like physically.
yeah.
Oh my God.
Shoving you and stuff like that.
I don't know what I'll
and
do
then
in
it's
that
so
situation.
funny. I would get security around me for the rest of the sessions.
That's nuts.
The artist security protect me over them. It's so funny. Stuff
What did you
like
do
that.
wrong?
We didn't do anything. We just like try to solve some issues
And he was
technical
getting
issues.
frustrated.
He just tried to act tough.
Right.
In front of the
my
audience, trying to be like, I'm
That
the
is
man. Like,
nuts.
yo, you got to do your job, man. Like, blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah, we just started fixing it. We're dealing with it. It takes some time.
Yeah, of course.
But, like,
I mean,
people try to act
people
tough,
just
I
want it
understand.
like right then and there, don't they? And he's
Yeah.
trying to be the guy.
Be the guy, like, yo, I'm
yeah.
the man. Like, yo.
Oh my God, that's nuts.
But, like, sometimes too much. Like,
yeah, of course.
yeah.
Like, no, that's
it doesn't matter how famous you are, but, like, you got to be respectable.
100%.
Yeah, you gotta-
100%.
So-
And it is awful, especially when you're excited to work with someone and you've kind of like, you like their music
Yeah.
or something like that, and then you meet
Like,
them
oh
and
my God, they're like
oh.
terrible person.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't ever want to work with them again. There's moment like that too. So
Yeah. Okay. That's
yeah.
well.
But I'm not gonna drop any names. But
No, please don't. I don't.
Yeah.
Especially if they are that way inclined. I don't want them turning up at my
No,
studio.
I still like the music. I still like the music, but it's just like I don't want to work with them. Like that's why like recording sometimes like half and half. I really like recording like really talented artists
Yeah.
because it's a joy and amazing to see them perform live, like
Yeah.
in front of you. Like sometimes it's like one take, and you're like, wow, that's the
Well,
greatest performance
you're
ever.
there at the moment of the creation of that song
Right.
that is going to be printed
Yeah.
forever.
You're like, whoa, I recorded that's like awesome. Some moment like that, but like I think that's cool.
Do you still do that? Like, do you still do a lot of recording sessions?
No, not at all. Zero.
Do you miss it?
No.
No?
No,
Do you
no.
Because you don't want to be punched in the face anymore.
Yeah, I don't want to do it all the dramas and everything. And
Yeah, of course. Well,
I don't want to start
I mean,
at like
when you've
12
got stories
midnight.
like that, and you're like basically running a nightclub and trying to record
Yeah.
a song.
Like,
I
I've
can
seen
see it.
enough, and I was like, I don't want to start working at midnight now if I have a choice. So
Yeah,
I'd rather say no and like do my 9 to 5 and
yeah. Get sent the stems,
yeah,
get the recall, keep it
yeah.
moving.
Because I'm like these days like quite busy, so like doing mixes, Atmos mixes, and masterings and all the stuff for labels. So it's like sometimes an 18-hour day just nonstop.
Yeah,
So
that's a good segue actually, because I did forget to mention it. We are in the Qube East, so shout out to the Qube East for
Yeah.
hosting us here in this magnificent
awesome space.
Atmos room that they have, Studio 2. What is your opinion on Atmos? Like, are you a fan of the technology? Are you a fan of working in Atmos?
I mean, at first, I'm not. At
Right.
the beginning, like I thought it was just like not a 5-1 problem. Like everybody's like 5-1 is great. Like 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Did you think it was going to be a phase?
Yeah, I just didn't think it would take off. But then I understand more like the consumer side of the technology, like with spatial audio, sound bars, and cars. And it's like, okay, that might be a chance.
Yeah, it's developed.
Yeah, so I was gonna pass on, but like everybody passed on. I was like, okay, I'm gonna try it because
Yeah.
I was stuck at home with COVID. I was
Right.
like, okay, I'm gonna learn something new. So I spent like months and months studying all the documents.
If you picked it up in COVID, you would have been one of the earlier
Oh, yeah, very earlier.
adopters then.
I'm probably the very first one in Asia.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, did you find that benefited your career?
Yes and no. I spent wasting a lot of time learning myself because there's no teachers, nothing.
No.
I
no
learned
YouTube
directly
videos.
from like Dolby or from
Yeah.
like Universal UK.
Yeah.
I reported to them and like stuff like that. So that's how I learned. Because I always get rejected. They tell you what's the problem is, and you keep fixing it.
Yeah, because there is a lot of like.
There's a lot of QC process.
Yeah, and you have to
at the
hit
beginning.
these certain deliverables. It can't go
It's
over
very
minus
tight.
18.
Yeah,
You know, there's
it's
a lot to
very
it.
tight. Like back then, like you can't do stuff flying around. You get rejected right away from
Oh,
the label.
really? What
yeah.
if you like automated panning and stuff
No,
like that?
You can. You got to match the stereo master.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Right.
For like labels, like you can.
Oh, because of like Apple, they want to be able the listening experience. They want to be able to like A/B it and like. It be
yeah. You don't
seamless.
want to put a vocal in the back.
Yeah.
You can be creative, but not that far. They're very like labels at the beginning are very conservative.
Right.
So if the vocal is in the middle, you got to put it in the middle. The background vocal on the side, you got to put on the side, it stays where it is.
Would you say that it's a little bit more relaxed now?
Now there's no QC basically.
Right. Okay.
If you hit the minimum like requirement, they let you in. They let
Okay.
you out like
Yeah.
it's on you. That's
As
it.
long as it doesn't peak.
Yeah, because
good.
there's so many like Atmos mixes they need to ingest every day. They can't just QC everything.
Yeah.
But at the beginning, there's not a lot, and there's only a few engineers doing it. So they're very strict and make sure everyone is on point. So it was great training. It was strict. It was tough. It was like I sometimes would get 5 times to get approval.
Right.
Yeah.
And was you finding like the deadlines and stuff being like as sort of like tight as they are now? Because that's one thing that I always hear is like, oh, the Dolby deadlines are too tight.
At the beginning was better because they rather make it correct
Okay.
than like rush it.
Yeah.
And they're very, very tight. They're like very tight like with the QC. Now, deadline, of course, maybe a day or two sometimes.
Yeah, it's
most
crazy.
of the times. So sometimes I have to do 1 album per day.
Yeah.
Just to meet the deadline.
It's nuts, isn't it?
Yeah, so you have to figure out like a workflow that please the label, get approval from the artist, the manager, and it'll get uploaded to Apple Music, no problem.
Yeah.
Then they won't come back to you. Because you
Yeah.
got to be quick, good, not amazing. You don't need to be amazing, but like quick, good, and also accurate. That's what we're looking for.
Why do you think that they have got? Why do you think that the deadlines are so tight? Like, why aren't they like adding in the time to get the Dolby stuff?
Because the deadline's always the same date.
Yeah.
And then you got one extra procedure with like Atmos mixing and mastering.
And
But the production always like late. The producer always produce late, and then you mix it
Yeah.
always late, and the mastering always weekend we don't work, and then it's weekdays, and then you got the deadline keep getting pushed. So at the end, you only got like a day to work.
Yeah.
Just because of how everybody's like postponing the.
And then you're the last in the
Yeah.
chain. Yeah. Do you find yourself doing a lot of like Atmos mixes that you've mixed? You've done the stereo mix for yourself, or are they? Is it normally
30-70? I'm doing like 30% of what I do stereo and Atmos,
okay?
and then 70% just all the label works and stuff like that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So someone else mix it. And,
yeah, because there's so many
there's so many. Yeah.
that aren't doing the Atmos
Yeah.
as well. Other mix engineers, so
Yeah.
they
But
can't.
also,
physically take it.
they know like no one else can fit the deadline, or like I'm reserved for them. Then
You're reliable,
yeah.
right?
But also, I got to deal with like different labels, so
Yeah, of course.
So they know like I'm consistent, accurate, and I don't miss pretty much.
Yeah.
So they can count on me like, okay, they can deliver in a day, it'll be fine. Apple will take it.
On the rarity that you do have a bit of time, with like an Atmos mix or even a stereo mix, and you're working in like a remote setting.
Yeah.
What's your process of working with the artist and getting the recalls done, things like that?
Can you ask again the question?
So you've got a bit more time on your hands.
Yeah.
The deadline's not
nice time.
the deadline's not 2 hours ago.
Yeah.
And you need to go through some recalls, there's some changes. You are in Hong Kong, the artist is in New York. What would be your process when dealing with the recall in that situation?
Well, it doesn't matter. I'm usually waiting for them to send me stuff. But like usually like it takes the artist time for them to write a note, so listen to it.
Yeah.
So usually I'm not the slowest part. So whenever I send it, I just tweak it right away. I'm doing everything in a box, so
Yeah. So it's just
like,
easy, it's quick, it's done.
Easy and quick. Like,
Do you ever
no
use
hassle.
software like our guys' Audiomovers or anything like that?
I do that. Yeah,
With the artist
with live, the artist and
like-
producer,
yeah.
especially if there's something to edit.
Yeah.
You want to do it in real time,
Yeah.
or like some recalls that you really need to like do real time streaming.
Yeah, of course,
It's
because
just
there's like
easier.
quite a complicated note or something like that, or
Yeah,
maybe
like-
the artist doesn't quite know how to like verbalize it or write it down in an email.
Or the vocal like wording, like writing level wise. They want
Yeah.
to get that like crescendo done, right? So
Yeah.
all the very little details.
Yeah,
They can just send an email and say, hey, can you raise this or lower
Yeah,
that?
yeah, of course, like reverb, delays, stuff like that.
Yeah, I've been using Audiomovers probably like for 7 years maybe since it first came out.
Okay.
Yeah. So
An
I always
early-
use
early
that. Yeah,
adopter.
early adapters.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then shout out to Audiomovers.
Yeah.
And it's been really stable, and even through all the OS and all the Pro Tools update,
Yeah.
it's been super stable, and all the clients are so used to it because you send them a link, they come
Well,
in.
that is
and
the
then
easiest thing about it. It's just a link, and they
Yeah.
can even get it up on their
You
phone
don't have
with
to
their
install
headphones.
anything.
Yeah.
I have client on the cab who's like, okay, I'm gonna listen to mix right now. Okay, cool.
Yeah. You're driving to deliver it.
Yeah, but I wish like Audiomovers add one more function. It's like a walkie-talkie function, so the artist can be on the website just like tell me
the play
in real time.
to stop feedback. The feedback.
No,
loop.
yeah, they can just talk to you right away and say,
Yeah.
hey, can you like make this happen? And
Oh, that's interesting.
otherwise you need two phones, yeah, like a top back thing.
Take notes,
Yeah,
guys.
because otherwise you need like two phones or like a computer and a phone.
Yeah.
Just something like that would help.
Okay.
Yeah, just like something as simple as that. Because like screen sharing, sometimes you don't really need to.
Yeah, it's a good idea.
It's a good idea, but like it takes more bandwidth, and if the artist is flying or on the run, they just need the audio to check real quick.
Yeah, that is a good idea.
Who's on? Is it always tend to be one-to-one, you and the artist, or is it like several people on the call?
Usually me, the producer, for sure. Artists might join. Yeah,
Right.
yeah, but that's about it. Like one or two people. But sometimes I do like master classes and stuff. Then like one too many people, more.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. So is that something that you do like a master class?
Sometimes some like colleges like, hey, can you get to this class and talk to people?
Yeah. Where do you find yourself doing more of that, like stateside or in?
I do some in Berklee College of Music.
Okay.
Yeah, some in Asia too.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah. Just
Amazing.
like a visiting artist or
Yeah,
something
yeah,
like
yeah,
something,
yeah.
but not regular. Like once in a while.
Okay, nice.
Yeah.
Dude, we're back on the Atmos because it's quite an interesting topic, and you're doing a lot of work in Atmos as well at the moment. When you're mixing, obviously, right now we're in this brilliant room,
Right.
And you could do a full
Right.
Atmos mix with, in the actual speaker system. Do you
Yeah.
find yourself working in rooms like this a lot, or are you using like the binaural simulation, using headphones?
If I like studios for sure, but I don't like for music. I don't like a huge room.
Yeah.
Like a soundstage is very hard to mix in, because you don't the imaging and also the directional is very blur, because the room is so big. You got an acoustic. You can't really hear the objects going front and back. The resolution is not as high as you have a smaller room.
Right.
So I like to-
what would you say this room was like? Maybe a medium size, or would you want it a bit smaller if you were?
No, I
to
think
set
it's great. Even smaller would be better. I
Right.
think.
Okay.
But I like to turn them a little bit louder, because you're listening to Atmos quietly in a room like this.
Yeah, you need to.
You really need to hear what's happening in that speaker.
Yeah, of
because they're far
course.
away from you or behind your head.
So you tend to not use headphones.
I use headphone too, but because like your deliverable, like the client checking on
That's
AirPod.
what most people are listening
Everybody
to.
labels.
Yeah.
A&Rs, everybody listen to AirPod. No one listen to in a room like that.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
also different Atmos room sounds different.
Right. Yeah.
So no one willing to spend a budget on a good room.
Yeah.
They could just go to a friend's place or something. I don't know, but like it rarely happened. Maybe 1% of clients would
What
do
was
that.
the speaker system we were talking about off camera?
Oh, I'm using iLoud.
iLoud.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm using
yeah,
IK
cool.
Multimedia iLoud, because I tried so many different like expensive rig and Genelec, PMC, ADC, whatever. I still like the iLoud a little bit better, because it's a little bit more directional and closer to what you hear on headphone.
Yeah.
So-
And it's something like, if it's
And
if
it's full range too. You don't have to worry about the low end and everything.
Yeah, and from what I saw on their site as well, they have like a bundle, and it seems
Yeah.
relatively affordable as well if it's a system that you want to like jump
Yeah.
into. Do you know what I mean?
And you can always adjust it with, like, you can put it on the stands.
Yeah.
Or anywhere.
It's
You
a cool
can just,
system.
it's more
Like, this
mobile.
is brilliant, and obviously we could get Neumann
Right.
speakers all
Yeah,
around
it's
our
brilliant.
head. That's brilliant, but you have to have all of the different stands and
Yeah.
setups. We've got to hook it up to the ceiling.
But you cannot move the room. Like
Yeah,
tomorrow,
exactly.
like
Yeah,
which
yeah,
I can.
yeah.
I can pack it up, move to another room, set it up.
Yeah,
That's
because
how
of,
they get-
and that's it. That's obviously it. Where you as you said before we started recording, you like to travel a lot. You like
Yeah,
to
travel a lot, yeah, so-
yeah, so it's important to you.
Yeah. But also,
How are you like aligning the speakers? Like what do you?
it's like how you do it in 5.1.
Yeah.
The basics, like measure the loudness with a SPL meter.
It comes with a
Yeah, but I don't use that mic. I just
Right,
like do
okay,
old
yeah,
school,
yeah,
like
yeah,
5.1. Used to set up 5.1 for films
yeah
at the studio, so we're like SPL meters and all the like laser like.
yeah. If
measuring
someone
the
watching
distance.
this though did go and buy the rig, they have that mic included
yeah.
with the system,
Yeah.
don't they? And they
You
can
tune
like,
it and
tune the
stuff like
room.
that.
Yeah,
But I think that's tuned the EQ of the speaker,
right.
but not like
Not the
distance,
calibration
the
of
timing.
the yeah. Okay,
I do it old school, so I measure the distance of all the speaker, equal distance,
from your listening
And then
position.
and if there's a limitation of your room, then you delay a little bit. just to make up for it.
Okay, that's
So
really cool.
old school SPL meters. I make sure all the speakers are same levels.
Yeah,
and if you're
yeah,
using
yeah.
the same speakers, the EQ is gonna be the same, similar.
Yeah, of course.
So you
Yeah,
gotta tune
yeah,
it. Some people tune it. I know some people tune the back speaker
well,
a
it
bit
just
brighter.
depends on whatever room setup you have. Can like
Yeah.
change the like reflection or whatever and
I
change the
like-
sound.
to not change the EQ of the speaker, just so that coming from everywhere is the same.
Yeah.
Because some people like the EQ the front darker than the back. I don't know why, but I don't like it that way.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
just like
Well-
it to be consistent.
That's it. And obviously when it translates outside,
To spatial,
Yeah.
that's what you're hearing.
Exactly.
They don't have, I don't know.
they're not going to
yeah.
EQ the
Yeah.
front of their room. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
you might
correct.
have done. So,
So
you
my
want it to be flat.
goal is to sound good in spatial audio,
Yeah,
not
yeah.
in rooms.
Yeah.
Yeah, because if you listen to music in soundstage versus in music studio, completely different.
Yeah.
It's underwhelming in the film stage.
Right, yeah, it is actually. I
Yeah.
went to the Dolby HQ and we listened to it in their theatre, and it
Nothing was-
wasn't
yeah.
as.
And then I didn't know at first, and then later it took me like a year or two and talked to Adobe people. I was like, oh, it was tuned differently.
well, the room is angled as well,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
the speakers aren't actually all at ear level
Correct.
in that system.
They're
so
always up top.
it's the music feels like it's falling on top of you rather than
Yeah.
circulating around.
But
you.
also, you sit in the back of the room, not in
Yeah.
the front. So that's the part I always find it like interesting because like we're mixing Atmos. We're sitting in the front part of the room, but if you're listening, consuming Atmos at home with a sound bar, you're sitting at the back of the room.
Yes,
But when
yeah.
you listen to spatial audio, you're in the middle of the room. So that you have to find a balance between
sweet
like
spot. Yeah.
translating. So you can't
Yeah.
have your back too loud because if you're sitting in the back listening to a sound bar, the back would be super loud because you're close to the speaker.
What do you think
stuff
is
like
going to
that.
be like the best consumable way of listening to Atmos? Like,
Still AirPod.
yeah,
I think right now the spatial audio technology is like so close to the real room.
the AirPod Maxes.
Max or Pro, yeah.
Yeah.
Like I literally like mix on that and then take it out.
Yeah, I
it
have a
sounds
pair.
great on speaker. It's literally the same translation. It's
Yeah.
like they really get it. At the beginning it was like, okay, it's not quite the same.
And the customers, the listeners
Yeah.
are using those headphones
Correct.
as well.
And they can measure ahead now and
Yeah.
adjust the acoustic. So it's like, wow, it's incredible. Like
yeah.
even you can watch a movie with it, like on Netflix or something.
Yeah, and it's surround.
It's like,
yeah.
oh, it's really accurate.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. That's cool. Yeah. I'm glad then because I bought a pair. The Max is going, yeah, this is going to be my.
Yeah. But like, I think most of the people are proving that on the Pro because Max is more expensive
yeah.
and you don't carry that all around.
No.
So that's why I
So
I
you
have
use
the
the
Pro.
Pros
I
as
use
well?
the Pro.
Okay.
I used to have the Pro 1 and Pro 2.
Well,
They
Apple's
all
going to get
sounds
a bit more
different.
money out of me now.
Yeah, they all sounds a little bit different. So back then, like there's like a period of time you can buy 1 and 2. So you had to call your client, like, which pair are you listening to right now, 2 or 1?
Oh, yes.
Because the EQ curve
yeah,
is
yeah.
different. Gen 1 is brighter, Gen 2 is darker.
Right.
So I call them, like, make sure, like, okay, they listen to a brighter one, okay. They adjust my mix differently.
Fair enough. Oh, okay.
Maybe we need that on the binaural renderer. Like you're using 1, 2 max.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
slightly different. Yeah, it's all slightly
different
different,
tweaks.
yeah.
Slightly
Yeah.
different curve.
Yeah, very slightly different curve.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, so yeah, it's all about, like, the consumer, I think, Atmos.
Yeah.
How to create a best listening experience.
And yeah, make it enjoyable and make it something unique.
Different, yeah, unique. Because, like, it's like when we, back then, like, in the 50s, 60s, you listen to music on mono speaker, and then we got stereo. So that's an upgrade.
Yeah, of course.
And now it's stereo to Atmos.
yeah,
But
it's a
also,
similar thing.
Yeah, similar thing, but also you want to respect the mono.
Yeah,
Even you're
yeah.
mixing Atmos, my tips is like you got to respect the mono. Because
Do you
mono,
when you're mixing,
we
do
still
you
check
mix
on the
in-
stereo or the mono.
Right.
You got to make sure the mono center speaker, that's something there. And because that's the only thing we translate in every little system.
Yeah, of course. And like, I don't know if it's still the case, but for a long time, especially when I was growing up, if you'd go to a nightclub, they would mono out all the speakers because they weren't going to like calibrate them from a stereo thing. So if you really wanted your like mix to absolutely slap in a club, which is obviously, you know, for hip hop and stuff like that, that's what you want. It needs to sound good in mono.
Correct.
You know.
Yeah, same for Atmos. Like you always check the fold down, like 2.0 fold down,
Yeah.
because you want to make sure, like in every soundbar or any playback, Sonos or whatever, the front, left, and right never changes. It's always there, right?
Yeah.
But like the back and the top ceiling, it's not necessarily always present to play back the correct information.
Yeah.
So if your Atmos fold down sounds great on 2.0, it helps. And it's like the closer you get to the stereo,
because it's gonna keep that
Same,
stable image.
yeah.
Yeah, of course.
all the crucial instruments, you gotta be same as stereo.
Yeah.
You can't go too far.
Have you listened to the? I think it's Sonos made them. They're like angled speakers, so they hit the ceiling and then it drops down on top of you, so you get
I love
that
soundbar
feeling.
like that, like LG, Samsung.
Yeah.
I got like the JBL.
Oh, okay.
They're all-
Yes, I saw the JBL.
It's
yeah,
great.
yeah,
like
yeah,
I loved
yeah.
it.
Yeah, that's a newer thing, right?
Yeah, that's new.
Yeah,
It's like 13.4.6 or something like that. Like
and
some
it's like a
crazy-
1 unit thing, and it
But
creates.
you
this...
put two satellite in the back.
Yeah.
It's detachable wireless. You put in the back,
Oh,
and then you
okay.
got like a ceiling 4 or 6 speaker.
That's nuts.
It's cool. The resolution is pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're not just in the studio caring about your speaker system.
No, I
like
check
your home-
everything.
Yeah.
I want to make sure, like, okay, the consumer listening to the soundbar, my mix is gonna sound great. On AirPods, gonna sound great.
Yeah. It's
So,
very coming a bit off of the Atmos. I like to keep it more mix based.
Okay.
I think a lot of the people watching this show are going to be dying to hear as well. What are your 3 favorite plugins at the moment that you're using?
For Atmos,
No, off of
Anything?
Atmos. Yeah, make it. Let's keep it like in a mix.
Okay.
Like,
What's in your template? I mean, you may, if you have like multiple templates, talk
for
about that, but
for Atmos or
for like you said, you love mixing pop. Like,
Yeah.
what's the-
yeah, I think we
what's the
go
pop
away from
template?
Atmos because
Okay.
you know
Yeah,
a lot of people watching this might not have ever even
sure,
delved
sure.
into Atmos. So give a little bit of source to the people watching.
I think Soothe.
Soothe 2.
Yeah, Soothe 2.
What are you using Soothe 2 for?
Anything. I put on everything.
Do you use it on your kick and bass?
Maybe not. But any melodic instruments that move, like the pitch changes, I use that.
I tried it. I did a YouTube video about it on the kick and bass.
Yeah.
It's a Jason Joshua technique.
Yeah, you can do that too.
Yeah.
I just personally didn't like it.
You didn't like it?
I
Okay.
don't want to put on a kick. A bass maybe, but not on kick.
No, so I'm using the send from the kick to
Right.
the bass.
To the bass, right.
To remove that frequency to
Right.
allow the kick to breathe through
I
the
like
bass.
to duck the whole thing,
Okay.
not just frequency-wise.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, because I don't know, just personal preference.
So you use just a compressor?
Yeah, just a
on it?
compressor sidechain a tiny bit.
Nice.
But you gotta nail down the timing, the attack and the release time to be like,
Yeah. So it doesn't. So
you don't
can't-
hear it.
Yeah,
You
you
don't
can't.
really hear it.
Yeah, it's just a feeling, not a
yeah,
heard thing.
Yeah. So
Nice.
Soothe is definitely one of the things. And then I like SSL channel strip.
Yeah.
I like the Waves SSL, whatever the latest is.
Yeah.
It's just like a must-have. Like it's just so handy for every.
Yeah, you can throw it on anything and you can get that
it's
sound.
just a standard. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I grew up on an NSS console, just like home. It feels like home for me.
Yeah. Is there any like particular part of the channel strip that is like leans you to it? Is it the compressor, the EQ?
The compressor always so punchy.
Yeah.
That's great. The EQ is. You don't have like analog EQ. Like you don't really think about as how you operate like a digital EQ. Oh, you think about frequency, the Q. For SSL, you're just like, hey, let's go for it.
Yeah. It's a feeling.
Yeah, it's a feeling. You just go
Yeah.
for it. Like it's great. Like I don't, get boxed up. Like okay,
Yeah, you're
I'm doing
not
2
like
dB
hyper
a
looking
lot.
at all the
Oh,
frequencies.
10 dB sounds great. Like let's do that. Like
Yeah.
I think I learned that from like Chris Lloyd Alge or something.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, he just like go for it. Like if it doesn't sound good, just boost.
Yeah. Turn
Everything
out.
boosts. I'm like, hey.
Way up and down.
Yeah, and it works, and it's good. It sounds good. Like I was like, I remember it's like I don't cut. I boost only. Like
That's like.
yeah, it's like,
That's like what the opposite to what everyone says now.
yeah, correct. And then I've been using also our compressor, just like a
The arc
staples.
compressor. Yeah.
It's so transparent and it's so adjustable with attack and the release time.
Yeah.
It's just like you can throw on anything, it works. So
Yeah. It's
I
nice.
think transparent is the term for like pop music.
That's
don't want
that's
it
what
too
you're looking
colorful,
for.
yeah.
Yeah. It's
I want to compress a
transparency.
lot, but transparent. I don't want any tonal changes.
And the color that you add, you want to have a lot of control over that
Yeah,
color.
correct. I want
Yeah.
to know what color I'm adding.
Yeah.
That changes sound because like
On a vocal,
Clean.
on a pop record, if you're mixing a vocal and you wanted to add color to it,
yeah.
what would be your process? Like, what would you be grabbing to add that color?
Shout out to Isotope,
Oh, okay,
multi-band exciter.
nice.
I like that a lot over EQ
Yeah,
because it doesn't have a gain changes. Because if you always like boost something on EQ, the whole level,
yeah,
the
yeah,
volume
yeah,
changes. But like exciter, it doesn't. It
Yeah.
changes the tone.
Yeah,
But also depends on how is the recording. If the recording is not great, you boost it, it's not there.
Have you used?
So always excited for me, like try different harmonics. Like you're creating something that not there first.
Yeah, and it's bringing it out.
Yeah, bring it out like the warmth or the high in the air.
And then you're not like messing around with like the frequency balance that you've created already in the mix.
Yeah. I do that as a tonal balance in a way.
Yeah.
If the vocal doesn't have low end, I get that. And then I would EQ after.
Yeah,
just
you use the
adjust
EQ to balance that, but then to bring
things
color to it.
To bring colors to it, like create something that's not there. I use a multi-mix exciter. Because like a regular exciter, you excite the whole thing. You add harmonics to the whole spectrum, right? But multi-band, I can control where I need it.
Yeah, so like Saturn.
Yeah, Saturn works too.
Yeah, and
I just like more used to the isotope.
Yeah. There's a really good one I've been using from Waves Factory. Spectre, is it called Spectre?
Something like that.
Something like that. I really like that plugin.
Yeah, just like similar idea.
Yeah.
But I've been using isotope since 5, so.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Just
I actually I've got that plugin, but I haven't really used it a lot actually, so I'll have to check it out. I've been using that Spectre or Saturn, but I've been a fab filter guy for like ever. as well.
Correct. I use fab filter like multi-band. Or the Pro Q3.
Yeah. The standard, the standard stuff. And I mean, talking about transparency.
Yeah, fab filter is
they are
the
super transparent. So that's like
the go-to.
Yeah, of course.
But sometimes like I feel like they a bit too much because there's a lot of hidden feature in the fab filter.
Yes.
Yeah. Like, oh my God.
Underneath
so
the
slow.
hub.
Yeah. They can do a lot. Like when you really have to do something, you can really dig in.
Yeah.
But sometimes I just want something quick. Like I want 2 seconds on this track, and then I throw out compressor, and it's like I don't have to think about it.
Done.
Yeah, it's done. But it's just a quicker. Like sometimes quick.
Yeah, I find it mental. Like the Pro Q3 especially. I'm still finding new things that I didn't know. Like every time I'm on Instagram or YouTube ones. I'm like, I did not know I could do that. And then straight away I'm there like, that's crazy. Like
I didn't know you can like freeze. I saw like
the blue freeze. Yeah.
I saw TCO interview. I was like, oh, you can do that. I didn't know that. I was like, what is that? It's like
like if you hold Alt or something and it will, and then when you press stop, it keeps it there rather than like the purple freeze.
I have no idea until I saw his video the other day. I was like, oh.
Yeah, that changes the game. That did change the game for me, especially when you're like EQing vocals and you're trying to be a little bit precise with your movement.
Correct.
But that's
you can do all the micro cutting and stuff like that. Like, cool.
Of course.
I mean, I thought that was smooth because I'm lazy, so.
Yeah.
It's doing the same thing. It's like how narrow the band is.
Yeah, that is Sue's doing it for you.
Yeah, correct.
One question I'll ask you is where you work in a few different spaces.
Yeah.
But obviously, the studio is your hub, is your home. It's where it's where you probably spend most of your time. If your studio was on fire, what are the 5 bits of gear that you would save?
Well, definitely my computer.
That's
no
joke. Computer for free. That's
a lot.
Everything's backed up. You got your computer.
Okay, computer is good. Out of the question.
Yeah,
I'll definitely get.
You're on the cloud anyway. We spoke about this.
Yeah, I put everything on the cloud. So yeah, but everything important is in the computer, and I think NS10s.
Your NS10s.
My pair of NS10s I've been using for 10 years.
Okay.
Yeah, that's probably my favorite speaker still.
Yeah.
What else?
Do you work much out the box?
I don't at all, not anymore.
So there's not really a lot
There's
to
not
take.
really a gears. I have a bunch of gear, but I was like, that's only for photos. Well, I share with my friend. Or like some of my friends, like they need to record something or produce something. I say, hey, just take this compressor for like a month or 2 and come back, give it back to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interface. Sorry, interface is another one.
What is the interface that you're using?
The Black Lion one is great.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm using simple. Like Antelope is great.
Yeah.
I've been with them for like 10 years now.
Okay.
I love I'm not using a lot of their function. I'm just using the clock and the converters. Same criteria that I was looking for, like Black Lion, the clock.
Yeah.
Easy to use, like rigid design. Like you can't really break it. You don't really need to install software.
And it's reliable.
It's reliable.
Yeah.
They got physical knobs.
Yeah.
No software needed. You don't even need power supply, just USB-C in and then you're ready to go.
Yeah.
And I'm using like a couple headphones amps, like the Grace design, M900 and the Apple G.
Oh, nice.
Roof. Yeah. And then, my pair of headphones, HD600 Sennheiser.
Yes.
Yeah,
right.
that's my go-to pair of headphones.
Have you played with any other like
I use all
cans
this MM100.
Are they the like big heavy ones?
They have the lighter one, cheaper one now. The MM100, I think.
Yeah, yeah.
They're like $400
I
maybe.
picked up their like flagship, and I was like,
oh yeah, that's heavy. I have that one too.
On my head.
Because I think that's the Man American like 500.
Yeah,
I have that one too, but it was really heavy. So I can wear it for a long time, but like for mastering or just checking stuff, it's good. But I have the smaller one, lighter one. I think that's my second favorite pair of headphones.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so that's pretty much it. Like interface, headphones, computer, speaker.
And then your AirPods.
AirPods. Oh, yeah. AirPod, yeah.
Yeah.
I literally mix on AirPod Pro.
Yeah.
Everything. And stereo too, like.
Okay.
Yeah, because you gotta make sure it translates too. People checking mixes on AirPod.
Yeah.
So that's like a big part of it. Like you spend time.
Yeah, you have to be able to like. Yeah, I've got a pair of the like really cheap ones that everyone has. Like I will always check my mixes in those and the car and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Because like the good thing with that is like I figure out like I think 2 years ago I figured a way to wirelessly just connect the AirPod 2 as a playback engine on Pro Tools, and I just like I can mix on them. Yeah. Tweak mixes on them on the go. I don't need have interface.
And if you can't do that, you can use Audiomovers and just send it to your phone.
Yeah, correct. Yeah. So if you have internet, if you don't have, then
yeah, of course, yeah. That's it. We've been how long have we been running for now?
1 hour 20.
Okay. I'm gonna ask one last question, and then we'll wrap it up. Maybe if Matt or anyone has another question. But
sounds good.
The last question I want to ask you is, and I mean it's like a double kind of question, but if you had the opportunity to speak to your younger self, knowing what you know now about your career and the development, what advice would you give him?
I think I might choose a different path and work in a studio. I think the industry is changing tremendously. I mean, I still enjoy my time with studio, but could have been better if I worked directly with a producer or something. Or start off in LA or some other city. I might, but it's not up to you. It's all luck and coincidence, you know.
Yeah.
I appreciate my opportunities in New York.
You say luck, but you worked very hard to be in the situation where you can maybe
because when you don't have luck, you try to work hard to create more luck.
Yeah.
So compensate for that. So, but yeah, if you work with a bigger mixer as a mix assistant directly, if you work for like Jason Joshua or something, that might be a better path. Yeah, that might be. I mean, hit or miss. Like I have friends that work with him that not in the industry anymore, but like people working with him is like very successful now. Yeah. Or you work with like a big producer directly, then that might be a better path or smarter path if you get a chance.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good. So
it's different. Like you see different stuff.
Yeah, of course.
But you don't like. I got a chance to see everything. I got to try everything.
That's what I was gonna say. You had like a very like versatile career from the sounds of it. You know, you experienced lots of different things. You know, from starting as a classical pianist to being punched in the face by a producer in a studio. You know what I mean? You've dealt with a lot.
Yeah, we dealt with a lot. So in that case, like it's good.
I think that's
valuable. Like unlearning people's psychology.
Yeah,
you know, like understand like everybody character and how to work with them. That's a people skills.
Right.
That's really good. But also I got to try every step of the process in the production phase. I try production, recording, mixing, mastering, Atmos, so you know what you really like.
There's a good point to make.
Yeah, but like also all that experience sum up to make you a better producer or engineer.
Yeah.
Because you know what's happening before and after.
You can speak the language.
I speak the language. I can help with the process, even like I'm not doing the job right now. But I can teach them how to record a better result.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. But also work in the studio, I got to know how to run the studio better, the studio business, the other side of the story, the back, like the music industry business.
Yeah,
you gotta meet with like label people, what they're doing behind the scene, how the money flows and everything.
Yeah, I think there's real value in that. You know, it's a side of the industry that I personally haven't like spent too much time diving in, and it's something that I actually feel kind of puts me on the back foot sometimes because I don't quite get how that side of the industry works, and maybe I might lose out on some opportunities because I'm not.
I don't think you lose out, but it's good to know.
Yeah.
Because then you can make better business decision for yourself.
That's it.
Because you're managing yourself. I'm managing myself.
Yeah.
Then you know how the
understanding how like the royalty systems work on a record, things
Publishing.
like that. Like being clued up on those and knowing what your role is in that record and what the worth of that is.
Knowing your worth, I think, is important. How much you charge and should you get a point or something because you're mixing, but also you're producing,
Yeah.
and when you can ask for something,
Yeah, that's it.
and whether it worth the hassle to hire a lawyer to be involved,
And that
stuff like that.
just comes with time and experience, and
Correct.
like being sort of aware of the situations you're in and listening.
Correct.
Yeah.
But also you make mistakes along the way, like, okay, I overcharge, oh, I undercharge.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're
well,
okay, I'm gonna adjust.
I definitely was undercharging for a very long time.
Yeah. But you don't know
Yeah.
until
yeah.
you talk to a peers or someone in a business or music business, and you're like, oh, that's what everybody's
Yeah.
charging right now.
Yeah, well, that's another good point. You know, befriending your peers and working with your
Yeah.
peers and understand, learning from them, and you know, talking to people. Like doing shows like this has been like a massive eye opener for
Right.
me in terms of like learning how other people approach certain situations within the industry. You know, and that's why we like to do these
Yeah.
shows so we can give the stories to
Yeah.
everyone else.
From a
But-
different angle.
Exactly.
But also peers, we're like union. Like if you're overcharging or you're undercharging, at least we know, okay, we should be in the same ballpark.
yeah,
That
yeah.
help us in a better position to like get our rate
Yeah,
up.
stop lowballing.
Yeah,
and
no, stop
taking all the
lowballing
work.
everybody. Like you're
Yeah,
coming
yeah.
in like charging $10. I'm like, yeah, great. That's
Yeah.
not great for the industry, but like
Yeah, yeah.
we should be
that's it.
together. Like
Yeah. Everyone have a set. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Well, Matt, I really appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
It's been brilliant talking to you.
thank you.
Did you guys have any last questions before we?
Feel free.
Yeah, it was kind of along the same line. I mean, I want to let you catch your plane, but there was a couple of things in there, like, so you're signed to a label, right? So you're signed to Warner.
Yeah, Music Asia.
You have management representation. Those are sort of things like that, which I think for like young engineers would be tricky to navigate, like the upsides of doing that, why you took that path,
Right.
Yeah, so
That's a good question.
Yeah, did that sort of happen organically, or was that like you kind of realized, okay, this will help me?
I think like finding a management will help you navigate certain region. It will help like doing all the invoicing, the negotiation. Particularly, I have a management in China specifically handling that because like China is like a wild west,
Yeah.
and how they do business is different from the rest of the world, and they have a particular way of handling like contracts and payment. They're very strict with that, so it's just a system knowing that. And someone in India too, like they help with the Indian industry too. So someone like that will smooth out the administrative process, which I have no idea.
Right.
But like more I work with them now, I know a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it helps. And also a good management will like save you a lot of time, like negotiating, dealing with piss off a client or not undercharging as well.
Yeah.
Because they will know the industry and how much we should charge better.
And allowing you just to do the work.
Yeah,
as
I'll
well.
just focus on what I'm good at, but like leave the rest of them. But also they got network that I don't have like in the gaming, in the sync industry. Like all the EDM stuff I got from a manager in LA. So I've been
Nice.
doing a lot of EDM stuff. That's like a network I never like exposed to.
Yeah.
But like it's good to have management like that. To help
Management is
you.
a very risky thing though, because you're getting it. You're getting into bed with someone, and you got to be be able to trust that
Correct.
person.
So that's why I gotta pick the right person.
Yeah.
If it's not right, you gotta get out.
Yeah.
Even you lose some money, you gotta get out. But like, it takes time to find the right person to work with that have the same hunger and drive to grow together. I think that's hard. So I've been lucky.
Yeah.
I've been
Seize the vision.
Yeah, I've tried some bad management. Like, not happening. Or just talking to me, this is not happening.
Yeah.
You don't understand the industry as much as I am, then no point in like hiring you.
Yeah. But you taking the time to understand it is what's giving you the.
Then you can pick the right person.
Exactly.
If you don't know how the industry works and you hire someone that don't know what they're talking, I'm like, no, I can do it better myself then.
Okay. Well, that's some brilliant advice there. I think everyone could take note
Working
on
with
that.
labels is also the same thing. It's more like you have a good working relationship with the label. I think they will want you to be part of it. And that's why they were like willing to take me
they'll
on
encourage
and,
it.
Yeah.
They'll encourage it.
To make a fair like business deal between everybody. And so it's a win-win situation for everybody. Yeah. So
Did you have a
Yeah,
question?
I have a question. Like, how often do you get points for for your work as a mix engineer?
I
And
think
is it different between like countries because the laws are very
yeah,
different
it's very different. Like
between US and
Yeah.
Asia? I don't know even like how even between UK and
Yeah,
the US
yeah.
it's very different. So
I think UK and US, you might be easier to get a point because they have a system like that for a long time. But like for mixing, it's rarely getting now because no one want to give up points.
yeah,
And it's going to hire a lawyer going to cost more than what you get paid from the points.
Yeah.
Because like you're not selling CDs anymore, you're like streaming. and the numbers are a lot lower. So
yeah,
the
and
point
like,
is
you know,
like,
you're already only getting like 1-2
I'll
points.
take an advance or
Yeah.
something, like fine. No, I'll take a fixed fee. I'll
Yeah.
buy Bitcoin. That might get me a better return. yeah, just the opportunity cost, like the time you spend and money you spend. And then like, but also like, for example, in China, there's no point system. There's barely any publishing. Everybody's on advance.
Right.
Yeah, so you're gonna negotiate high advance to cover your back end.
Yeah.
Stuff
yeah.
like that. Every
Right.
country is different. But like the rest of the world pretty much don't have a point system, I think.
But do you have like a situation where you ask, for example, let's say the whole production to credit you as a different kind of type of work, like as a? I know that producers don't actually get points, like, but you can like change your like you're a composer, so in that case you will get a point. Like you have a chance of getting a point because like you basically act as a composer rather than mix engineer or producer.
But it's so hard in
Yeah,
that
I know.
sense.
Just said,
Because like sometimes I mix and then I'm like co-producing,
Yeah.
but every credit, everything is in place already.
And then you kind of have to argue your case.
Then sometimes you just let it go. Like most of the time it's like, okay, whatever, like move on to the next one. Because like sometimes it's like the A&R is my friend. Like, can you just help me like clean this? Like, sure, like friends, like.
Yeah,
Cool.
of course.
But I'm like trying to find the shortest amount of time that I would do this.
Yeah.
And I'll get on mixing and stuff like that. But it's hard. Like it's a very tricky situation because like sometimes I'm doing a favor, but if you ask for something, then like then we can't do that, and everything stops. You lose the gig. It's a tricky situation.
Yeah, you don't want to make the process slow. You don't want to make it awkward. But
Yeah,
like
make it
you
difficult.
feel like you're entitled
we negotiate
to it.
it, bring a lawyer, and then we're like, no, we just need a 5 minutes fixes on this.
Right. Yeah.
And sometimes it's like, it's just like 10 minutes. Okay, I'll just do it. But like, but I also try to avoid those gigs. Like, I remember I have a big record in China. They were like, can you mix this during COVID? But the criteria is like you have to fly over to Beijing to vocal produce it. I'm like, what are you talking about? So in order to mix this record, I had to vocal produce you, and I had to fly again on a plane during the peak of COVID. I'm like, no, thanks. So you just try to avoid like all these gigs.
Why would that be?
No idea. Like you meet all kind of people. Like
That's nuts.
yeah, so some stuff like that happens. Like people ask for crazy stuff.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
That
it
is
happens.
crazy.
So we have to avoid all this little thing. Like try to take the safe gigs
Yeah.
that will get you paid, get everything smooth. The process is easy. The song will come out. I think that's more important. Finding those people to work with.
Yeah.
Then like people talk loud, talk huge. Oh, I have a dream,
Yeah,
and I'll
they're
do this song.
mostly- yeah.
And then spend a year, that song never came out, you never get paid. That's
Yeah.
not doing great for anybody.
Yeah.
So you gotta avoid those.
The old classic. I can get you good exposure.
I get exposure. I'll get you like points,
Yeah.
but you don't get
I
paid
can't pay
now.
you right now.
I can pay you right now, but this song gonna be a hit.
Pay you in views.
Yeah.
Expose me to your wall.
Yeah.
So and then you're like, great. But I think it depends on like the amount of budget they have. You kind of figure out if the song will do well. If they have more budget to hire you, they're more likely to have more budget for marketing,
Back end.
promotion.
Yeah, exactly.
So the song will do better. So
Yeah.
But do you have any projects where people like trade work for hire for like for royalty, basically like
at the
putting
beginning of
as
my
a writer,
career,
but-
yes. Yeah, at the beginning of my career, yes.
But you learned that wasn't a good trade-off.
And that wasn't a good trade-off.
No.
I mean, if
Never-
it's Michael Jackson, then
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
but, like, you never
obviously
know
that's
if it's
a
gonna be
one in a
Michael
million.
Jackson.
That's a one in a million situation.
Yeah, maybe it's Michael Jackson. And you're like, great. Yeah, I just missed by a little bit Michael. I was like, okay. Yeah. So, but like, that's why like, I learned not to trust them until, okay, if you're famous,
Yeah.
you come to me, you got the numbers going. Okay, maybe
Yeah,
we
you
talk
can look
about,
at their catalog and you
yeah,
can
it's
see.
like,
Okay,
this
there's
is your
proof of
first
this.
song. You're talking about back end. I'm like, how many
No.
stream? Like 2,000?
Yeah.
But like, if you got like 10 million stream per song, I'm like, sure, we talk back end.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of course.
then maybe because you do the math. Like you know how much streaming pays.
Yeah,
for like a year or two.
Yeah,
how much I
2
get.
points on this. I'm gonna get.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna get what I need.
Yeah. Or I just get upfront like, how about you give me $2,000 and I'll go away.
Yeah.
So-
I'll leave you alone.
Yeah, so you never know.
Okay. Well, that's brilliant, Matt. Well, you have a flight to catch.
Yeah.
So we'll wrap it up there. Thank you guys
Thank you.
for watching.